Today, I'm talking with Stephen Joseph, an experimental composer and sound designer from Nevada who runs Third Echo Sounds. Stephen, thanks. I've been following you for a while, and it seems like lately you have a newfound love for your field recorder. You want to talk about that?
Uh, Very much so, yeah. And it was kind of accidental when um, my previous trip with my wife on our 1 year anniversary went to Lompoc, California, and I happened to record some of the ocean ambiance there from my phone. And when I realized I could make my own drones with just ambient noises, it sort of developed this newfound love of found sounds, and ended up getting for Christmas that year my Zoom H4n Pro, my handy field recorder that I bring with me almost everywhere. Record noises at random. But just recently, took a family trip to Williams, Arizona. Um, to the kids to see the Grand Canyon and everything. And of course, I had my recorder with me, grabbing sounds as many as I can, wherever I can. And as soon as I get home, I dump them into my workstation and run them through my granular synthesis and just see what kind of sounds and pads I can make, what kind of atmospheres I can create with these. Ultimately, it saves me a lot of money on buying new sample libraries, which was a problem for a while. But just to throw it in there, my wife is also very, very happy that I'm using a free method of finding new sounds now. Definitely easier on our checking account. But yes, granular synthesis, found sounds. I think that's my niche, and I'm leaning into it.
What are you working on now?
Currently, I am working on a game called Explorite, doing the soundtrack for the devs there. And it's kind of funny when I'm in the middle of a project, I have my set template that I use for that soundtrack, and then now with this newfound love of found sounds, I find myself layering in stuff that wasn't in the template before. So it definitely makes the workflow a little bit interesting when I have my set sonic palette, and next thing I know, I'm tinkering with sounds that weren't in there previously, and then then I have the devs asking me what the holdup is, and I'm too busy playing with new sounds. so that's the main one I'm working on now. I am also working along with another composer for a game called Soulscape. It's their second episode. I wasn't part of the first one. And other than that, just working on my own personal album, and trying to hammer home my own signature sound, and always tinkering. So, but yeah.
With these games, how did you get engaged with them and find them?
X, actually, both developers, we met on X. They interacted with something I posted, and one thing led to another. Next thing I know, we're communicating through the DMs, and they say, "Hey, we really like your style of music. Would you like to do the music for us?" Then we set up a meeting. We kind of similar to this, do a video call, and then we just hammer down the details. They offer me a price, and we negotiate from there. And then once we agree to terms, they send me a contract, and we get to work. Sorry, I didn't know what else to add to that.
With Soulscape, you said you're collaborating with another composer. How are you guys coordinating and splitting up the work?
So he's largely focused on the title theme, the exploration music, and I was assigned more of the like the combat, the intense kind of percussion heavy type stuff. He shows me up quite a bit, and I'm wondering why why they didn't just give him the whole thing, but I'm thankful for the opportunity. But it's just like, man, this guy's so much better than I am. But I guess they like something I do, so that's cool.
Do you find yourself learning a lot from them?
Quite a bit actually. There's all kinds of new techniques I hear in his work, and I'm like, oh wait, I can try that too. That's a good idea. One thing I struggle with is orchestration. I am terrible at orchestration. Traditional orchestral music, it does not jive with me. I've been a hybrid composer since I first started because I came from a very synth heavy and drumming background. So doing traditional orchestral stuff it throws me entirely off. So when I hear how someone is able to do it, I think, okay, maybe I can give this a try. But as of yet, I haven't really sat down and really practiced. Also, not having any projects that are orchestral heavy. Everything I've worked on so far has been more electronic based for the sound palette. So, yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Do you play any instruments yourself?
I am a drummer, so when I was 11, actually, I got into piano, and prior to that, I just bang on things at random, trash can lids or the countertop, and driving my parents crazy. But it wasn't until I was 11, my parents got an upright piano that I sat down and just decided to play one day, and I would just play melodies I heard on the radio, and found this love for just creating my own sounds. And then it wasn't until I was 19 that I was introduced to FL Studio, and I started just trying to compose my own work. So I take my rhythmical background, because I used to play the drum set. I was actually in a garage band when I was a teenager, but that's another story. We did a lot more talking and goofing off than we did practicing, which is probably why we didn't go anywhere. But yes, so drums primarily. I also do keyboards. I have a keyboard at my DAW. And then I also, I don't know if you count found sounds as playing an instrument, but I like to bang on things at random, like sheet pans or I don't know, anything I could find that makes a noise. But traditional instruments, yeah, just drums primarily, and then keyboards.
Are you familiar with the band Stomp?
Rings a bell, yeah. I haven't really heard them, though.
They're the ones who do theater performances with like brooms and trash can lids and like squeaking on sinks and everything. They sound right up your alley.
Gotcha. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't they have a show at the New York here in town in Vegas? I believe they did.
Probably.
Familiar. Yeah, actually, I vaguely remember being in a showroom when they did that, because they started off with the sweeping rhythm. I think I remember that. Yes. And who knows? Maybe that's where my love of found sound actually originated, and it was just kind of buried for many years.
So, how did you start Third Echo Sound, and when did you start it?
So, Third Echo Sounds. I was looking for another moniker at the time. This is back in 2019, so about 6 years ago. I was looking to branch out and kind of separate my name and my sound palette, because I wanted to have, like orchestrations by my name when I ever get there, and then Third Echo Sounds would be my hybrid or sound design label. And I was brainstorming names, and I jotted down a list of kind of moods my music evokes. It's dark, atmospheric, driven, post-apocalyptic. I had friends tell me that it sounds like, most of what I write sounds like it comes right out of the Fallout universe. So I started thinking up ideas on what I could name myself that could evokes that kind of mood. And I was like, well, Echoes Across the Wasteland, and then I was started thinking of, radio signals or uh, static. And I was like, okay, so what about like a radio call across the wasteland, but you only hear an echo of it? So it's like, because it's so far away. So I was like, and then I was like, oh, echoes of humanity, echoes of what once was, and little by little started honing that sound. And I was like, third echo. Originally, it was just third echo, but I threw the sounds in there after because I don't think anybody really knew what third echo was at that time. So I threw the sounds in there as a kind of a descriptor. There we go of what I do, and then ultimately it just became part of the name. Third echo sounds. So I just left it in there, and then my goal is to be able to morph that into its own production studio and have a team of people working under the Third Echo brand. But that's still a ways off. I'm still trying to get myself off the ground, but we're getting there little by little.
When I hear sound design, I often think about sound effects in a game. Are you doing any of that, or is your sound design more just a complement to the composing?
I actually do sound effect creation as well. It's not very often, but I do have developers reach out and ask for custom sounds, explosion sounds, or just recently I did for a small mobile game. I did magic sounds, a magic impact, magic shield impact. I can't remember the name of the game. It wasn't even that long ago, but I got so many projects I'm juggling anymore that I can't remember. If I don't write it down, I don't remember. But yeah, so I do sound effects as well. But the large majority of my sound design is through granular synthesis and just creating atmospheres to accompany any music I write. Which I'm trying to lean more heavily into hybridizing it, because I don't want to pigeonhole myself into just a select type of sound, So I'm always trying to evolve and learn how to try different things or try different sounds. But short answer, yes. I do sound effects as well. Sorry, I went on my own tangent there. So.
Do you find yourself getting pushed out of your comfort zone often with the developers?
Very much so, and I seek that as much as it can be stressful and challenging, and at times downright frustrating when it's well out of my comfort zone. I know ultimately I'm not going to grow as a musician, as a person, unless I'm pushed out of that comfort zone. So I enjoy when developers come to me and they have a musical vision that is outside of what I can do comfortably. Where I just recently I did music for a game called 03. It's about to go into Kickstarter. But the developer just wanted a exploration track and a combat track to go for with his demo. And he wanted more like drum and bass breakbeat type stuff, which is so far out of my element. And I remember looking at the guy like, you want me to do what? And after tons and tons of back and forth, after getting probably 6 or 7 tracks rejected, we finally came to a sound that he thoroughly enjoyed and said, this is it. This is going to go on the game. So that feeling of accomplishment of I pulled it off, as frustrated as I was, and my kids asked me like, are you going to quit? Are you going to give up on this one? And I told them, I was like, no, you don't quit when it gets hard. you find a different way to do it, and you just keep trying. So when I told my kids that, hey, I pulled it off, the developer loves that track and it's in the game. It's good. And they're like, oh, hey, Dad, that's awesome. I was like, see, you stick with it. You try again, and you try again, and you try again until you get it right. We don't just quit. So I enjoy when I'm pushed out of my comfort zone like that, because it not only does it help me grow, but also makes me more resilient. You have to have thick skin in this industry, as you're aware of. You can't be emotionally attached to your work as much as you want to be, because there were times where I thought a track was really good, and then that was like, oh, what is this? What did you send me? This is horrible. It's just like, it stings. It really stings. So you have to learn to be able to separate yourself from that, and just like, oh, okay, well, just tell me what you don't like, and I can modify it. But if you don't have anyone who pushes you out of your comfort zone, that's a lot harder to do. If you're just sticking with what you know how to do, you're limiting yourself. You're limiting your opportunities.
Are you doing mostly direct commissions, or are you also packaging stuff up for marketplaces?
Right now, my bread and butter is direct commissions. I'm still working on my marketplace assets. I don't know if you've been following my X feed, but I share a ton of my found soundscapes, and my plan is to compile those at the end of this month. Actually, compile everything I did this month into its own kind of soundscape album, and that will be pushed out to marketplaces. But juggling that along with commissions gets pretty tough. Especially because if I lean too far into one of them, then the other one kind of falters. So I have to split up my time to be able to work on everything that I want to work on, and spend time with the kids, spend time with my wife. I mean, how chaotic that can be. But yes, commissions are the main, but I am opening doors to marketplace, and as well as trying to make additional passive income that's outside of the music and sound design industry. My wife and I have investments and stuff that we put our money into, just so we have something always coming in, especially because I left my full-time job November of last year, which wasn't really planned that way. I know we talked about it through Messenger on X, but it was basically just corporate restructuring where I was getting the shaft, and I decided I wasn't where I wanted to be anymore. And no matter, I was with that company for 19 years. 19 years, and then they just shafted me in the end because I wasn't one of their clique. I wasn't one of their yes men. So they wanted me out. And ultimately, I'm sure they wanted me to leave anyway. But so I went from being a full-time employee, writing music on the side, to just trying to write music. And it was quite the leap, and it's definitely been an interesting journey. At times I miss the steady paycheck. Every other Friday, got a new check coming in. And now it's like I get paid sporadically. It's one project here, the payment for another project I did last month. They're like, they're on a payment plan with me. So it's tough. It's tough, but I don't regret it. I think I needed to take that step, and it's been a learning process. Lots to learn still, but I think we're getting there.
Has that changed how you do your marketing and your networking and looking for work?
Yes, I'm much more. I don't want to say aggressive, but that's ultimately what it is. Yes, I was more of a passive marketer before, where it was like, "Hey, look at this cool thing I made," whereas now I've modified it to, "Hey, not only look at this cool thing I made, but where is it going to fit in your game? You know? So trying to solve a problem that they don't even know exists yet, you know, and that's been a learning experience on its own, because marketing, I don't know, I always feel so slimy when I talk about like sales pitches, and you know, it's what we have to do, but it doesn't feel right to me. I don't know. It's hard to put into words, but I always feel bad when I'm like, oh, so you want to hire me to do the music or what? You know, because it feels, I don't know, kind of like a used car salesman. You know, even though I know I'm offering a great service, it's just, I guess it's one of those things that just have to grow past there, or maybe you never actually do. I'm sure some of the professionals in our field also struggle with this at times, but I want it to feel genuine, you know. I don't want to come off as fake, and sometimes I overthink my interactions with people, and for someone like me who has severe social anxiety anyway, so you're welcome. Thank you for having me on here. But so I overthink my interactions anyways, but when it comes to trying to sell myself as well, it's hard. But yes, I have changed. I have grown into a more aggressive marketer. Um, Reaching out to devs cold, you know, just messaging them, hey, I saw, you know, the game you shared on X. I love the look of it, and I'm open to pitching you a free track that you can use. And 9 times out of 10, that works. They get a free track and no obligation to hire me. You know, all I ask is that if they use it in promotional material, that I get, you know, credit for the work. And 9 times out of 10, they come back and they want more music done. You know, prior to that, I was too nervous to even bother doing that. I didn't think I was good enough. And for anyone who's listening, you are good enough. Just, you are good enough. Be confident in your own work. You know, and that's something I had to learn as well. Is, you know, building that confidence, and it took a long time. It did, and I'm still working on it, because there are times where, I'm sure you're aware, imposter syndrome creeps up. You know, especially when I'm stuck on a project and I start questioning my abilities, and it's just like, well, maybe this isn't for me. Then maybe I'm not cut out to be a musician or a composer. But that's, again, just, it's all in your head. You know, you do have the abilities. You're just at a point where it's tough. And I'm sorry, I'm a rambler. It's that social anxiety.
So you're reaching out mostly to developers individually. Have you considered working with some kind of agent or reaching out to publishers?
Not yet, no, but that's a pretty good idea. Um, the I did have some music pitched to a stock library, and this was actually a few years ago. They accepted my music, it got put in there, and then the music never got used. So it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like fishing. You know, you throw the line in, you hope for a bite, and then nothing happens. You're just sitting there with the line in the water. You know, so there are other avenues I'd like to try, but I really haven't done so yet. Probably mostly because I like to reach out, because it feels more authentic to me. You know, where it's a one-on-one, like, oh, hey, this is really cool. Whereas I think if I have someone do it on my behalf, I don't know, it seems a little salesy, if that makes sense.
It does. Do you have aspirations to do film and TV music, or is your eye really on video games?
I'm open to other opportunities if they arise. My wife and I usually we'll watch, you know, a Netflix show. Right now we're watching Designated Survivor. You know, and I pay attention to the music that's implemented probably 90% of the time, if not 100% of the time. And I always think, oh, hey, I have that library. I know what drums they use there. And I think, okay, well, I can do this type of music, and it's something I'm open to. I just haven't been given the opportunity yet. And I think mostly that's just because the music I write fits more in an adaptive kind of style, which is exactly what games need, versus kind of a linear progression that you hear in a lot of film or TV music. But I am open to it. I'd love to give it a try if somebody gave me a shot, but as of yet, haven't had that chance.
What are some of your personal music influences? If you're driving in the car, what are you listening to?
You're gonna laugh at this one. My radio station is currently set to 107.9 Coyote Country. This is funny. I hated country growing up. It wasn't until probably about 15 years ago, my brother introduced me to Jason Aldean, and I'm just like, dude, this guy has some good music. And then I got hooked from there, and it's just been. But in the car versus my Spotify playlist, I have almost 4,000 songs on. And it's all over the board. I got, blues, hip hop, rap, rock, metal, of course, soundtracks. But largely, I'd say, composer-wise, or for my style of music, probably like Jesper Kidd is one of my biggest influences. He's the one who wrote the music for the original Assassin's Creed games. He's probably one of my biggest influences. Also a huge fan of Jason Graves. He did the Dead Space, and then the Tomb Raider reboot. And then I'm gonna sound cliche with this one, but Hans Zimmer. I love his strings and drums. I mean, he's just got a brilliant way of writing. So it's just such impactful music. I still bump the Inception soundtrack to this day. I'll put that on while I'm cleaning the house or whatever. But yeah, I try to keep an open mind when it comes to music, though. Like I have my favorite radio station while I'm driving or whatever. But if something comes on that I haven't heard before, I always make sure to give it a second listen. My wife and I, when we go out to a restaurant, I'll hear a song come on over the speakers in the restaurant, and a lot of times I'll stop eating. I'll just listen. Like, I haven't heard that before, and pulling out Shazam, trying to figure out what song it is, and then it's on my playlist. So I'm always listening for new influences and new ways I can adapt to my own music. New methods. So man, this went on a long tangent there, but yeah. So genre-wise, I'd say country, metal, and scoring are my three top influencers.
Awesome. Where should people go if they want to learn more about your music and you?
Definitely X at Third Echo Sounds is my handle there. I am also on TikTok at Third Echo Sounds on there as well. I try to keep it consistent throughout. I don't really hang out on Instagram all that much, but I am on there as well. But X and TikTok, and then I have a website in the works right now. Stay tuned for that one. It's whenever I can get it up and running. So X, just look me up on there if you want to know more. If you want, I'm on there pretty much all day long. So
awesome. And you're open for work if anybody's looking for music, right?
Anybody's looking for music, yes, absolutely. Reach out. We can talk about it. My specialty is, kind of ambient soundscapes, especially the more dark, brooding type. I guess people kind of laugh when they hear how I talk versus the music I write. They're like, "But you're so like lighthearted and funny. You write some of the darkest, scariest music on the planet." You know? But so yes, my specialty is in like the horror, the post-apocalyptic, science fiction, anything of that sort. So if you have a project that you're in need of custom music for, absolutely hit me up.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for sitting down with me. It was great chatting with you, and I'll post this online and share all your links.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.